Okay, let's do it. We are going into the difficult part this time, right? It's the real thing, right? Now, this video, we are going to focus on the concept of the tax burden. In fact, it is basically a breaking down of the total tax revenue or the tax payment, right? Now, let's look at the formula first here, right? Now, remember this one, we talk about total tax, basically the per unit tax times the quantity transacted. 我哋之前講過啦，係咪啊？ And then how do we break it down? In fact, the tax would be borne by two different parties. On one hand, the consumer will bear part of it, while the producer would bear the rest of it. OK， 好嘛？嗱，睇到 definition 先。Definition: Consumer tax burden refers to 嗱，小心啲啊，唔係 increase in expenditure， 係 increase in price due to taxation。OK， 記唔記得之前咪有一條嘅係咪啊 ？There is a $6 unit tax, but only $3 increase in market price. OK, this is exactly what I talk about. OK, while the rest of the tax is something to be borne by the producer themselves. OK， 嗱，好難明嘅，好嘛 ？Let's use a number example. OK， 我哋用數字嚟代表啦，好嘛？嗱 here originally we have this one, right? $3 10 units 呢個係原先嘅狀況。OK， 好嘛？ Now, suppose the government impose a per unit tax of $3 3蚊雞啦。So let's try to move the QS part. OK， 望望啦。Originally $1 I'm going to make 6 units. Now because of a $3 tax, I'm only willing to produce 6 units if there is an increase in $3. So here 1 becomes 4, 6, 8, etc. You will see the new situation would be this one: $5, 8 units. Okay, the units here is irrelevant. 我哋諗諗啦，我哋望一望呢度。Here, the market price increased by $2. Okay, 慢慢嚟。We know that the total we have $3 of per unit tax. 呢個係總共咁多。But the market price only increased by $2. 原來呢一 part 啊 ，this part is what we call the consumer tax burden。呢一 part 加咗價。When there is an increase in price, who would suffer? Consumer would suffer. This is the part the consumer would suffer. Then the rest of $1， 你見呢嚿啦。The total tax is $3 per unit, but each unit they could only increase the price by $2. So the rest of this $1, producer would have to so-called bear the burden by themselves. 冇得咁賤，冇得加人價啦。OK， 好嘛？原來啦 ，technically we call this a shifting of burden. How do you shift the burden? Increase the price. 原來呢3蚊 there are a total of $3 tax. $2 within the $3 are shifted to consumer through an increase in price. OK， 得唔得？ So this part will be the consumer. Of course, if you want to calculate the total, right? We also know that 8 units. So here, the total tax payment total tax payment here would be $3 times 8, which would be $24. And in this $24, the consumer would bear $16 and producer would bear the rest of the $8 of tax burden. Okay, 得唔得? So this is the concept of tax burden. Okay, the concept of tax burden. Okay, now I know this is getting a little bit difficult, right? So in case you still have doubts, I suggest pausing the video or replay the video until you are good to go to the next part. Okay, 好嘛? For the next part, we are going to talk about the graphical representation, but wait for me a little bit. Okay, I'm back. Now, bear with me. Draw it slowly. 你唔該睇晒我畫一次先。And then replay the video and draw with me. 你唔好第一次跟啊，你一定畫錯啊 ，OK？ 好嘛 ？So again, watch first, then replay and follow me. 好啦，嗱照舊。Let's do this first. This is demand. This will be our S1. 好啦，我哋 mark 清楚啊。Here, P1, Q1. OK， 嗱呢個好重要啊。P1 要 mark 清楚，好嘛 ？Now we have an increase in per unit tax. Or I should not use the word increase. Let's impose a per unit tax. 我哋畫得誇張少少，好嘛？ So this one. This is our per unit tax. That decreases our supply from S1 to S2. 好啦，嗱唔好亂 mark 嘢啊，唔該你。This becomes our actual P2. Q2 嗱唔該你呢一下 ，let's highlight the Q2 for ourselves. 好重要啊呢個，因為咧 next topic when we talk about subsidy, it's very easy to misdraw your diagram at Q1. So let's remind ourselves we're at Q2. OK， 好嘛？好啦，頭先講過啦 ，increase in price from P1 to P2. This part. This is an increase in price because of the tax. 好啦 ，increase in price, who will suffer? 啲嘢貴咗，邊個會 suffer 啊？ Obviously, this red box is the part of consumer tax burden. Okay? But remember, this vertical is the per unit tax. 咦？你話 Sir， 呢度仲有一部分 tax 喎。Okay? This part red. The rest of the tax here. Okay, the rest of the tax, the green box, this is actually our producer tax burden. Then also let's mark P3 here. 好啦，最後啦，俾翻個箭嘴啦。This one. Okay, this is how you draw tax burden. Okay, 記住啊。Do not recite 唔係背上定下 no, it doesn't work that way. You always remember increase in price. This is the part where consumer suffer. So the rest of the tax would be on producer. Now I suggest you replay the video and draw together with me. Okay, 自己嚟咯噃。Now with all that said, let's look at some past paper questions, how tax burden would be put into actual practice. OK， 好嘛？好，第一條啦，就問你啦 ，the ratio of consumer tax burden to the producer tax burden。你見啊，又係 CE questions, right? Sometimes the wording may be a little bit off, but you understand, right? 好啦，我哋先寫低啦。Original equilibrium at 8 多啦。原先係8蚊雞 ，OK。Now 咦佢冇講過幾多 tax 喎？我係咪吸漏咗啲嘢啊？Yeah, I think I copy something missing. Yes, here. Go back to page 17 of your note. You will see that impose are $3, okay, per unit tax, okay, 3蚊啦。Now therefore, let's change the QS. 3蚊嗱 if you remember, we shift the QS column by three rows, okay. 原先7蚊係80件，而家10蚊係80件。120, 160, okay. This irrelevant. 好啦 we know that the new equilibrium price would be $10. So do you see here? The increase in market price is $2, while the tax is $3. 我哋寫翻低啊，因為頭寫漏咗呢個 tax $3. Do you see? Tax $3. Increase in price $2. By the way, increase in price, who suffer? This is the consumer tax burden. 3.2仲爭1蚊喎。The rest of the $1, okay, would be the producer tax burden. 見唔見啊？3蚊2對1啦。Okay, so consumer tax burden to producer tax burden would be 2 to 1. By the way, I think grammatically this is problem, right? Problematic ratio of this 2. I think this is 2, right? Not on 2, right? Something like that. Okay, this is how you judge the tax burden. Okay, hold up. Now, next 2 questions. Let's try it. Okay, now you see this time they only give you the demand， 今次淨係俾咗 demand 你哋。阿 Sir 係咪難咗啊 ？No, actually it's even easier。你唔使睇 supply， 你直頭淨係得 demand 係仲容易。Why I say so? Look at here. Impose, right? Unit tax. We know tax $3. 哎呀 $3 tax. As a result, the price increased from 12 to 13. What does that mean? It means that $1 price increase. This is consumer tax burden. 喂，咁剩翻2蚊咩嚟㗎？ The rest of these $2 would be producer tax burden. Okay, 得唔得？ So let's see. Which the following description is correct? Okay, 好嘛？好啦 ，consumer bear larger tax burden. No, 1 to 2， 佢應該細啲喎。Okay, so not correct. Okay， 好啦，第二個啦 ，elasticity greater than 1. How do you calculate? 喂，點計啊 ？Actually, you can calculate, right? Originally $12. 好啦，根據呢度啦 ，originally $12 times 140. Okay, now change into $13. $120. Okay, I think this one would be I need to cheat a little bit. Okay, 計下數先。Okay, my goodness， 係咪突然之間要計啲騎呢數添 ？Let's cheat a little bit. Okay, this will be 12 times 140. This will be 1680. Then next one, 13 times 120. Okay, 1560. 嗱個數字唔緊要嘅，係咪？ The important thing is whether it has increased or decreased. Here, let's see. We know because of the tax, total expenditure TE equals to P times Q. TE actually decreased, but we know price have increased. How to balance this equation? Definitely, quantity needs to drop faster than price. This is elastic demand. So elasticity greater than 1. B is correct，啱喎呢個，好嘛 ？Total tax burden, how do we calculate? Tax is $3. We are selling 120 units. In fact, the total should be 360. Okay? Total sales revenue, including tax， 佢話計埋稅啦 ，has increased. Definitely not， 肯定唔會啊。Okay? We know this is not correct. Okay? 好嘛？好啦 ，then next one. If the equilibrium price of goods falls back to 12 unit, somehow it changed from 13 to 12 due to a decrease in production cost. What does that mean? It means that supply would increase. All the way back to the original point, right? Producer would bear all tax burdens. Now think about it, right? Now we have a tax in which bear $1. The producer bear $2, right? Now this is a change in situation. 呢個係有變動㗎個 situation. Okay? All we can be sure is that the producer tax burden to consumer tax burden remains 2 to 1. Okay? 唔會無端 bear all tax burden 㗎。No, it doesn't happen. They only bear all tax burden when there is an extreme case. Okay? 好嘛？ Total tax burden would be 360. Yes, nothing changes. 我哋知道啦，係咪啊？$3 tax 唔係喎 ，sorry, no. This time I'm wrong. 好啦 ，tax burden, how do we calculate? $3. If it drops back to 12 units, $12, the number of units sold would be 140. 係咪？而家彈翻 equilibrium 彈翻12啊嘛。Okay, QD equals to QS equals to 140. This is definitely not 360. Okay, so B is also not correct. There will be excess demand 唔會啦，係咪 equilibrium 㗎嘛 ？Total sales revenue net of tax would be this one， 係咪好易計啫嘛 ？This one 80 minus this one 420, right? That would give us 1260. Okay, so D would be the answer. 難嘅呢條 ，OK, not an easy question, not an easy question. But once you know the trick, it shouldn't be too difficult. OK, 係咪？只要你知道竅門咧，就唔會太難啦。OK, now next few questions here. 1, 2, and actually 3 questions. OK, 好嘛 ？Now here originally you are given this one $13. Okay, originally. Now, if there is a 4 per unit tax, okay, $4 per unit tax. So let's try to change it. Originally, $10. I'm supplying 300 units. Now I need 4 more dollars, right? So 300, 400, the rest irrelevant. 唔知啦. Okay, so you will see the new equilibrium price will be 14. Okay, now think about it. 又嚟啦噃。This is a $4 per unit tax. So this is a 4 tax. Somehow it only led to $1 increase in price. This is consumer part. 係咪貴咗 consumer 咪食咯 ？Okay, now the rest of the $3 would be borne by the producer. We know consumer tax burden to producer tax burden would be 1 to 3. 原來咁計嘅啫，唔使諗咁多嘢㗎。Okay, actually quite straightforward if you understand what's going on. Okay, 好嘛，好啦，15年啦。You see this table, something funny going on. 14, 14, 14, 14, 14. 又係啦 perfectly inelastic. So even if there is a tax, actually supply would remain unchanged in this case. 原來咧係會唔變㗎。OK， 好嘛？ So originally $5 now would also be $5. 5蚊都係5蚊 nothing changes. Okay, so let's see. Seller's revenue net of tax is 70. Let's try. Okay, 好嘛？ Here, net of tax. $5 times 14. Now this is total expenditure, right? 470. 但係呢個未扣稅嘅喎。How much tax are the seller paying, right? $2. Okay, $2 times 14. Okay, they need to pay $28 of tax. So A is not correct. The new market price $6. No, we just established, right? Nothing changes. Supply doesn't change. Okay, total tax revenue 28. Exactly what we mentioned, right? Above information insufficient to determine tax burden on seller. No, it can. Okay, in fact, is there any change in price? We know that consumer tax burden is exactly 0. 因為有冇升過啊？ Is there any increase in price due to the tax? No, 冇貴過，所以 consumer 冇受過害啊。OK， 得唔得？ All of this $28 of tax burden would be borne by the seller themselves. OK， 好嘛？ Now last question here. Now referring to the following demand and supply. Okay, now let's mark it down. Originally would be $10, 100 units. Now the government imposed a $2 per unit tax. So let's change the QS. $6, 60 unit. Now I need $8. 而家要加2蚊啊，所有嘢都 OK 80、90、100、110。These two irrelevant. We see that the new equilibrium would actually be here, $11 at 90 units. Okay, 好嘛？ So let's try. Seller's revenue net of tax. 我哋計下咪知咯，好嘛？ How? Here, $11 times 90. This is before tax. But we need to minus tax payment. Tax payment, $2. Okay, this would be 990 minus 180, which would be 810. Not the answer we want. A 唔啱咯，好嘛？ Tax burden borne by sellers would be $90. Now we need to calculate, right? We know this is a $2 increase, $2 tax, right? 又嚟啦，畫翻我哋上次嗰個啦，係咪啊？ Here, $2 tax, 2蚊 tax, but broken down into two parts. First part, $1 increase in price. 見唔見啊？ This part, $1 increase in price, consumer tax burden. 好啦，2減1, the rest of this $1 would be the producer tax burden. Now, since we are talking about total, right? So this $1 times 90 units would be $90. Yes, B is the answer that we want. 我哋睇埋 C 同 D 啦。Total tax revenue will be 200. No, right? $2 times 90 units, it should be 180, right? And finally, buyer's total expenditure would decrease by 40. 計下咪知咯。Originally, 1,000. Now, 990 by consumer actually decreased by 10. Okay, not 40. Alright, so this would be the concept and calculation of the tax burden part. Okay, for the next video, we are going on to something even more difficult. We call it the tax incidence or the sharing of the burden. What would affect who would bear more burden? Okay, so until then, I see you in the next video very soon.